Hey guys, welcome to the channel. I finally am recording this Testimony Tuesday. It has been so many Tuesdays since I did a Testimony Tuesday, and that's because all of these things have been happening, and I knew from the moment things started going downhill, I knew that there was going to be a testimony, but I also wasn't ready to share it. I also, sometimes they have the saying, move in silence. Sometimes you just have to get things in order before you share it with the world. And also, once things were settled, I really wanted to be able to tell my family and friends personally before I just put it out on the internet for everybody to know. So let's start at the beginning and make our way up till what happened last week so that I can tell you about what amounted to the season finale of 2020. Now, going into the elections, I was convinced that the elections was going to be the season finale of this year, of what seems like some bizarre dystopian sci-fi TV show. And I really wasn't sure what was going to happen. There was a lot of things building up, and I kept joking that it was going to be like the season finale cliffhanger, and who knew what mayhem was going to happen. Little did I know that the real season finale was about to kick off in my own personal life. So about a week or two after the elections, specifically the week before Thanksgiving, I went to work. It was early in the morning. I was checking my emails, minding my own business, and I ended up getting a call from the top dude. Well, not the very, very top dude, but a dude that was too top in the company for me to actually be having conversations with. And so when he called me, I knew that this was not good, because I was like, why am I talking to you? I should not be talking to this person. And essentially, he told me that my position had been done away with. For those who are not familiar with layoffs, companies make business decisions for monetary reasons. It's always a monetary reason. And they basically get rid of certain departments, or they get rid of certain positions in order to balance the books or whatever. Basically to make the company grow and to thrive or whatever. And so my team got hit pretty hard during this round of layoffs, and so I, as well as many other people on my team, were officially notified that day that we had been laid off. And guys, it was literally like the stages of grief. When I got the call, I was extremely, I don't know what the word is, maybe like hurt, offended, personally attacked. I felt like I have done something wrong. I didn't do my job right. What is it about me that I'm the person being let go? And I felt really down on myself for all of about 5 minutes. I'm exaggerating when I say 5 minutes, but it really didn't last past probably like lunchtime that day. So probably like an hour and a half, 2 hours, I was feeling pretty down. But as I was processing, I was like, but I literally just got a promotion. No one has said I've done anything wrong. Like, what's going on? And as I started talking to my coworkers and finding out who else was being laid off, then I started to see that, it really is, I guess, a business decision or whatever. That it really isn't personal. It's not about me, and it's not about like, I didn't do this or I didn't do that. It really was just like, oh, they're eliminating this team. And so as I got used to that, I guess that would be the acceptance phase of grief, I became extremely excited. I was like, wait, I don't have any responsibilities. I don't have any attachment to where I am right now. I could literally go anywhere. I'm not restricted to applying for positions right here locally. I can totally change the path that my career is on if I want to. I could go do something totally different altogether. Like, there were just so many possibilities, and I got really, really excited. And that point is when it clicked in my head that God was doing something. Number one, before I got laid off, I was actually praying about life, like where I am in life, what I'm doing in life, and what is next. I was praying about different things that I'm involved in, and what my involvement in that looked like, and how involved I was supposed to be. I was praying about my church family, and whether or not I wanted to continue being a part of the larger church family. Those who are part of that conversation understand what I mean by the larger church family versus like the smaller church family. Basically, I was praying about where I am and where I'm supposed to be, and things were starting to feel like I don't know what I'm doing. Have I worn out my welcome here? Am I on the right track? What am I supposed to be doing? What am I supposed to be contributing to these different ministries? You know, where am I supposed to be involved with? A lot of my friends here have also been moving or getting married. And then of course with COVID, we haven't really been able to see each other as much. And then I'm part of a young adult ministry. But you know, I'm getting a little older. Not so old that I'm not a young adult, but you know, at the point where it's like, oh, maybe I should be handing over the reins of leadership to somebody who's a little younger. But then it was like, what will I do when I'm not a young adult? Like, what will happen? When some of the older people in that ministry have already, you know, expressed that they didn't really want to be as involved because they feel they're not a young adult anymore. And just like all of these things where it was like, what am I doing, Lord? Why am I here? Where am I supposed to be? And of course, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you don't have a job. The only thing that's literally keeping you in South Florida, you don't have that anymore. And it was interesting to me because in my lifetime, this has actually happened 2 other times. Not being laid off. That was my first time being laid off. But this whole idea of God just like pulling the rug from under you and making you have to make a decision. It happened to me when I was at UF, when I was in grad school getting my master's. Some stuff went down at the University of Florida, and there was a whole lot of drama within their department, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to continue there. And that's when I left and went back to Clemson for my PhD. While I was at Clemson, my advisor actually quit his job. And so essentially I no longer had a job either because I worked for my advisor. And I had to make the decision of whether I was going to quit my PhD, stay and get a new advisor, or leave and follow my old advisor. And I chose the latter, where I left, and that's how I ended up in South Florida. And so it was interesting because I was like, oh man, as soon as I processed it, I was like, yo, God is doing something. I don't know what he's doing, but something big is about to happen, because every time he kind of like forces my hand, that's what happens. Because I wouldn't have quit my job because I like the people that I work with. So it was definitely like, okay, I'm going to force you to make a decision. You're gonna have to do something. So I knew that a testimony was coming. I just didn't know what that testimony would be or what it would look like. So starting that week, I put out my resume and I started to look for a new job. Luckily, I wasn't, so some companies when you get laid off, I guess you only have like that week or that day or whatever, I don't know. But they gave us almost like a month's worth of notice. My last day at work wasn't until like a week or so ago. So I was sending out my resume and I turned on the little thing in LinkedIn that says I'm open for a job. And suddenly I was getting tons and tons of emails and opportunities to interview lots of different companies. And And I was reaching out through my network, talking to people who, you know, I knew that were working locally in the area to see if I could apply for jobs there. And, you know, interviews were actually going pretty well. They were very stressful though. That's also why I have been neglecting the blog and why I've been neglecting the YouTube channel, because CS interviews are like exams. It's like preparing for the SAT or the GRE. They really just grill you on the basics and the fundamentals of coding, but they also expect you to demonstrate your ability to code in the interviews. So, you know, I was basically in boot camp mode, trying to remember all of the things I learned, you know, 15 years ago in college. And it was kind of overwhelming, but it was also fun because I was revisiting all of these concepts and remembering all the things that I learned and the things that originally drew me into computer science. So I actually applied to a couple of different positions that dealt with cars and car sensors and the technology within cars, making them more sustainable or making them more modern or more high-tech, whatever it is. And I was kind of nervous about this because in my experience, it is a lot easier to get an interview, particularly at a major company, if you know somebody on the inside. Now, lately I've been actually getting the interviews, but up until like a week ago, I had never actually gotten an offer from a company where I had not met somebody personally beforehand. And I don't mean that like, oh, I know this person, we're cool, we went to school together, we worked together, etc. But I mean at least like going to a career fair and networking with this person. So meeting the recruiter at the career fair and making an impression on them there, or meeting them at a conference and having a conversation after they gave a talk or something like that. Basically every internship or position I've had, at some point I met an engineer from that company and had the opportunity to make an impression on them, be it in a conference, networking, speech type of setting. I had never actually gotten an offer from a place where I had not done that. And so a lot of the companies that I was applying for, I had never met anybody there. And because it is COVID-19, everything has been virtual this year. I haven't been attending any conferences. I haven't really been networking in person. And I was like, this might be really difficult. I may actually just be stuck with the ties that I have locally, the people that I know personally, that I've already been able to make an impression on, that I may be able to get offers from those companies. But I think it took 2.5 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, after I applied to one of these particular companies, I actually heard back and was given the opportunity to do an initial interview. And so I was super excited because my resume had just been sitting in a database. I didn't have any way of following up on it or contacting people to be like, hey, can you look at this? So I was surprised that I actually got the call back to do the initial interview, but I did. And I started doing this interview. And the way this initial interview worked is that you did a coding test, and then they would ask you questions and you had to record your response. Now, guys, I started this YouTube channel. I've got a little bit of experience with recording things and being on camera. I'm a little bit more comfortable with that than I was last year. So I was like, that's fine, that should be good. But the catch was you can only record twice. So you get to go once. So they ask you a question, you got like 30 seconds to make to figure out your answer. Then it would start recording. You could do the first recording. If you decided you didn't like that recording, you could retry and do a second recording. However, when you clicked retry and you recorded that second recording, it deleted the first recording. So you didn't get to go back and choose that recording if you thought that one went better. So, you know, I was a little bit nervous about that, but I was like, you know what? 2 shots, we got this. We got this. How hard can it be, right? So I'm doing the interview and they asked me a question. I recorded it and it was okay, but it wasn't great. It wasn't succinct. And I felt like, you know, I kind of trailed off in some places and I was like, let me do it again. I want to make it sound more confident and more direct and to the point. So I hit record and, you know, it deletes the first video and it starts recording for the second take. And I start talking and Bubbles all of a sudden appears in the room, jumps in my lap and puts her butt in the camera. Yep. Middle of the interview, cat's butt all in the camera. And I'm in the background like, I'm so sorry, I can't control my cat right now. I don't know what to do, right? Like I'm panicking on the inside, like I just totally blew my shot at a second interview with this company. They're gonna think I am totally dysfunctional. But I managed to get her out of the camera and over to the side and actually answer the question. I don't know if it was succinct, but it, you know, I said something along the lines of what I was trying to get across and it got submitted and I, you know, basically curled up in a ball and was like, that probably ruined my shot at that. But it didn't. It didn't. I actually got a call back. Apparently somebody loves cat videos and somebody thought it was funny. And so I actually got the opportunity to do the second interview. So I got really excited and I started preparing for the second interview. Now, this is where what I put out in the last video starts to overlap with this whole thing of interviewing and, you know, not having a job anymore. On the side, I was also experiencing sickness. Now, if you are aware of like psychology and things like that, when you're stressed out, you kind of open yourself up to being sick because your immune system is, I mean, your whole body's kind of scatterbrained and your body's trying to deal with the stress, which weakens your immune system. And so even though in my mind, I felt like I was okay, I was excited, and I knew that God had me, I think there was a lot of residual stress going on in my head. I think that I was very much panicked. Unlike my coworkers who were also laid off, I was the only person laid off that is single. Everyone else is married. Some of them have kids. And while there's another layer of stress that goes on to this, how am I going to take care of my spouse? How am I going to take care of my kids? You know, what's going to happen? There's also a layer of support that comes with. A lot of my coworkers were saying, oh, I'm going to go on my spouse's health insurance. You know, instead of losing 100% of their income, they were losing maybe 50%, maybe 80%. But they still had some percentage of money that was going to be coming into the house. I, on the other hand, was just in my house by myself with my cat, like, what's going to happen? Right? So there was a lot of, I think, residual stress that was happening in the back of my head, you know, subconsciously that I wasn't fully aware of. So my body started to exhibit signs of stress. So first I pulled a muscle. I did some kind of weird motion and I pulled a muscle in my rib cage. And so I had these sharp pains in my rib cage for like 2.5 days. So I was doing these boot camp calls with my coworkers and luckily I didn't have the camera on, but I was literally like doubled over because I couldn't sit up straight because my rib cage was hurting. And I was trying to fill out applications online while laying down, and you know, I have a heating pad wrapped around my ribs because I'm like, okay, well, when I do the interviews and I have to cut the camera on, I have to be able to sit up straight and look like a functioning human being. And as soon as I was able to get my ribs back into a good position, and I will say I did one all-day interview with that sprain in my rib cage, and it was better. It wasn't like sharp pains, but I was sitting up all day with this kind of like gnawing pain in my side doing a whole interview. And so a couple of days after that interview, I started having trouble with my earlobe. And I think it had to do with the earrings that I wore for that particular interview because they were a little heavy. And essentially my ear started swelling and it started to hurt. And so after about 4 days of my ear swelling and hurting and being red, I was like, maybe I should go get this checked out. So I went to urgent care to have them look at my ear, and they decided it was like a cyst or an abscess that may have been a little infected. They pricked a hole in it and there was pus. They drained out like all of the pus. Sorry if that's TMI for you guys, but after that, they were like, you need to take antibiotics to combat the infection. So they prescribed me antibiotics. So now we are the day before this interview for this company that, you know, Bubbles has shown her tail to, that I really want this position, and I am shocked that I've even gotten this interview. And I am holding, you know, a hot compress to my swollen ear, and I'm taking antibiotics to combat this infection. And that night, those antibiotics did not sit well with me, and I started to vomit. And I got extremely nauseous, and I got extremely dizzy, and I could not see straight. And when I woke up the next morning, I was still nauseous. I still could not see straight, and I felt like crap. I could not eat because I was nauseous, and I had thrown up everything I ate the day before. And so time is ticking, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? I can't do this interview like this. And I'm praying, and I'm like, Lord, I really wanted this position. Is this you telling me that this is not the position for me? And I was super weak. About 2 to 3 hours before the interview, I started to feel a little bit more strength, but I was still a little nauseous. I still had not eaten, and I still was a little shaky on my feet. So out comes this heating pad again. So I put the heating pad in my chair for the interview, and I actually have a diffuser, and apparently peppermint is supposed to be really good for nausea. So I actually put on a diffuser in the background that was diffusing peppermint, and I am sitting in this chair with the heating pad and the infused oils, being diffused into the air. I am praying, and I'm like, Lord, I need you to do this interview because I'm not sure I'm capable of doing this. So when I hung up from this interview, I only remembered sporadic things. Like, I remember the introductions. I do remember making a joke and, you know, the interviewers laughing. I remember some things that they said. I remember some of the answers to the questions that I asked. I remember a couple of questions they asked me, but most of it is a blur. And I was just like, I hope that went well. Like, I feel like it went well. I didn't collapse in the middle of the interview, and I don't remember being like, I don't know, to any of the questions. So I was like, I feel like it went okay. So I was just hoping for the best. And guys, I actually got the position. I did not get that position on my own at all. But exactly 1 month to the day that I was laid off, I was made an offer for that position, the position that I really wanted, and I got it. And so, you know, it was just one of those moments where I was like, I knew God was gonna pull me through this, but I didn't realize it was gonna look like that. Thought it was gonna be a little less painful, but he made a way. And so I now have this new opportunity. It is in a new city. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to my family and friends before I put it out on the internet, because I will be moving some point in 2021. Luckily, I don't have to move immediately, but at some point I will be relocating. And I'm very excited because along with all of the things that I've been praying for this year and coming up to this big point, many of those things are more possible there. So the place that I'm going to be moving to has a lower cost of living than where I live now, which means I will be able to afford nicer things. Two, I think there will be a lot more space. So I will be moving to the very, very large state of Texas. There is a lot of space in Texas. And one of the things that I don't like about South Florida is how crowded it is and how many people are like on top of each other. So I'm very excited about that. Also, because I'm going to Austin, which is still a city and still probably a little crowded, but because I'm going to Austin, and Austin is a huge, there's like this huge boom for tech in Austin right now. There are going to be a lot of young professionals. Right now, I'm kind of in a retiree type of an area, so I'm very excited to be able to meet more people my age. I'm going to miss all of my friends that are here, but I'm also going to have the opportunity to expand my community and my horizons and meet more people, and I think that's what God was calling me to. So I'm very excited about all of the different opportunities that are going to arise from this. And like I said, I just knew that, something big was going to happen from the moment that, I got that call, and God has been faithful. And this is just step one, because I'm pretty sure even more things will happen once things start to get rolling, once the ball starts moving. So this is just part one. And so I'm very, very excited about that. And, because of the timing, I'm not going to be destitute. That's also part of it. So, because I get a severance package for the old company, and so because of the timing, the way the timing lines up, there won't be a time period where it's like, oh, I can't pay my bills, what am I going to do? So God also worked out the timing, and it's been a very rough month. Like I said, I lost my job, I've been sick, and I've been trying to keep things going. This is why for at least one of the videos I filmed, there's just like no sound, you don't see me, because I was just like, okay, I did the video, I filmed the footage, but I just don't have the energy to actually film anything that goes with it. And some of the quality of the videos may not have been the best because my brain has just been everywhere and I haven't been feeling the best, but all of this, went well. Like I said, God brought me through it, and just in time for me to start prep for season 3 of the podcast. And I get this nice little break right before I start my new job, where I'll be able to actually film a couple of videos and prep for it. So I'm really excited, and it was a good season finale because I'm going into 2021, new year, new place, new job, new experiences. It's gonna be exciting. So that was my season finale for 2020, and that's why I've been a little ghost, and that's what's going on with me. So what did God do for you in 2020? When you look back, all the stress, all the heartache, all the problems, where did it put you, and how is it setting you up for a great 2021? Did you let him work miracles in your life? And maybe he's still working a miracle in your life. So that's the thing I wanted to leave you with to reflect on. And this will probably be my last Testimony Tuesday for 2020, because I feel like it fits so perfectly to end out the year, and then I'll start back in 2021. If you like this video, please click the little like button. If you are new to the channel, or you are a person who watches the videos but isn't really sure and hasn't really committed yet, if you really like this content and you want to support, please subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell so that you can see when videos are uploaded, and I appreciate you watching. I'll see you guys again.